Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm joined by beautiful Rhi, who I'm so excited to be with. Incredible specialist in her field, and if you're not already following everything she does, you 100% should be. So over to you, babe.
Thanks, Lily. Yeah, when I saw this one walking from my lift to my door, I was like, oh my goodness, she's made it.
We made it.
Yeah, she's doing so well. So hello, I'm a nutritionist, a registered nutritionist. I have a degree in nutrition and health. And then I went on to specialise. So I did a master's degree in obesity and went on to become a master practitioner in eating disorders and disordered eating. And then I went on to specialise in sports nutrition. So I've got all these different kind of avenues.
Gosh, you've done everything.
I'm looking at actually pre and postnatal at the moment.
Oh my gosh, more study.
Yeah, more study, which I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
But obviously running my clinics. I run a clinic in Harley Street, the Nutrition Clinic, and I have my social media channels. Yeah. And now my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Which is why this is really good practice.
New to YouTube, guys. Hit subscribe.
When obviously I heard about poor Lily and then she called me and I was like, you poor thing. There's so much that nutrition does. So it affects your mind, it affects how you feel, it affects how you move, how we eat, how we sleep, everything, even injury repair. So this is going to be a good chat.
Yeah, a very good chat.
Lily's now experiencing things from a whole other viewpoint, aren't you?
Yeah, it's been a challenging time, and I thought, I have never actually kind of gone down this route with you guys before. Obviously, you've spoken to me a lot about my nutrition, but it's always been from a training point of view and how to achieve, I guess, aesthetic goals. And this has been a very steep learning curve for me from a mental health perspective, as well as the physicality of it. And I touched on this in yesterday's video with you guys after seeing my physiotherapist Graham. We went through the biopsychosocial model, and that was what really all clicked into place for me. There are 3 different parts that you need to consider when it comes to your overall health, which obviously encompasses your healing.
Yeah.
And from a biology point of view, there are concerns for a lot of people when they have injuries. For example, is my injury going to heal? Am I going to get through this? Am I going to re-injure it? I actually don't have any concerns there, and I think a lot of that lies around my background as a physiotherapist. I know that I am going to heal if I do the right things.
Yeah.
However, the other side of things, which is the social side of things and the psychological side of things, I have some huge vulnerabilities there, and that's coming out a lot in my sleep. At the moment, which is
sleeping,
and the main reason why I first contacted Rhi was to get advice on what I should be eating to promote healing. Basically, I want to do everything in my power.
Of course she does. It's a good thing.
Everything in my power to help this healing as fast as possible. But over the last month, you know, with this emotional whirlwind, I haven't been sleeping. I started to develop insomnia. And the spiral continues, you know, then you get the anxiety, then the lack of sleep affects the healing, and you know, you just go in this downward spiral. And I think being able to reach out for help is the first thing. Massive.
Well, it's hard to stay positive, and I think that's something we were discussing, because it puts you in someone else's shoes, and we were saying how grateful it can make you feel to just have movement every day.
Oh my gosh.
To get up in the morning and not have to, I don't know, put your lovely cast on and
Brucey.
Brucey, to put that on in the morning, and to be able to go to the shops or lift a heavy door. I think it's the little things.
Yeah, it does. It really makes you appreciate that. Start off by speaking a little bit around 2 main topics of inflammation. So foods that can help with the inflammation and promote healing. And then off the back of that, gut health.
Okay. So I think it's first, a really important thing to explain to everyone would be that your immune system and your digestion work very, very closely. So they are separated by 1 cell. That is minuscule. I mean, it's absolutely minute, very difficult to see, and a lot of different interactions take place within this area, and they actually call the gut the second brain, and it does control and help regulate your immune system. So it makes sense that if your digestion's down, or if your immune system's down, your digestion's down, and they work very closely together. So when we're talking about inflammation, let's start there. That's the body's response, of course, which is going to be beneficial, but also if it's prolonged, not so beneficial.
Right.
And that's what we're looking at with Lilly.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a little feel, I was feeling her leg, and I was like you do, and I was like, oh, there's a bit of inflammation there.
It's very swollen still.
It is swollen. That's just because your blood vessels are vasodilating, they're creating more room for white blood cells to come in and try and heal and repair.
Yeah.
But what we don't want is that to last for a very long time, because we're actually putting Lilly at risk then of developing further problems and not healing the body as effectively as we could. So there are some links with diet and inflammation.
Okay, that's really interesting, because I think a lot of people think just of acute inflammation rather than like
just now.
So that really short-term period, for example, you know, fall over when you're running and it swells up, that's a natural response, and it's actually a good response. So that is the body aiming to heal your knee as quickly as possible. But once you get past that and it turns into a longer term inflammation or chronic inflammation, that could be potentially damaging.
Yeah, that could be damaging. And of course it's needed to help repair. But what we can do is we want to try and reduce that now. We know that the body's working. We know the white blood cells are doing their thing. So we kind of want to aid everything else around it. So especially for Lilly, I mean, she's got what we call the 360-degree thing of the knee. We know that obviously with ACL and all, there's certain nutritional elements that are beneficial. Vitamin D is heavily researched with ACL recovery. We're looking at that affecting the immune system. Elements like zinc in the diet, but also omega-3. Now that's something that is great to discuss, because actually a lot of people are trying to give up animal produce. However, it's not really bioavailable in the same way in the body from vegetarian sources of omega-3. So omega-3 is a healthy fat. You get it in salmon. I love salmon.
I eat fish.
I do too. That's the thing.
Pescatarian.
So you eat salmon or mackerel or sardines. It's no longer tuna steak. And then there's the vegetarian sources, so your nuts, your seeds, your avocado, that kind of thing. But that contains alpha-linoleic acid, something called ALA. And that takes a lot longer to convert into the EPA and DHA you get in omega-3. So you literally need to eat so much more of the vegetarian stuff to have any impact in the body.
Right, that's really interesting. So for plant-based eaters out there, it's possible, but it's a longer process.
And you can supplement. So actually, you can't really advise supplements over a YouTube video, because you don't really know what your diet is or anything. But there are very good algae-friendly omega-3 supplements. And that is heavily researched with reducing chronic inflammation. And there's still research going on now that it even goes a step further, and it plays a role with degenerative diseases, things like motor neuron and Alzheimer's. And they think it's because the brain is made of mainly fats. So if you're getting enough of these omega-3s, that can help support the kind of cognition and processes in the brain, but also support the reduction of inflammation elsewhere and degeneration of cells.
And what about
I hope that makes sense.
Well, for me it does. I find this fascinating, guys. Absolutely fascinating. So obviously for inflammation, upping the amount of omega-3s.
Definitely.
Can you get that from things such as chia seeds?
Chia seeds go into that plant-based category I described before. It literally is just the bioavailability in the body. I'm not saying you can't. I just want you to be aware that if you are having it at home and you don't eat oily fish, then you may want to consider increasing the portion of those other items.
Potentially through supplementation. That gets seen by someone.
No, definitely. And I think with inflammation on a whole, you definitely want the colour. This is the very boring eat a rainbow thing, but all those amazing antioxidants, we use the word antioxidants, but they're also known as phytonutrients that you find in plant compounds, basically powerful things to help fight damage and repair cells. Vitamin C is very important also for collagen production, and that works with protein together to make the structure. So if we use Lilly's knee as an example, so we want to recreate the structure that's obviously been torn and broken, and to do that we need to build up a kind of, how would I describe it, like a spider web which comes from collagen around the knee, and then we want to solidify it together, and that will come from your calcium, your vitamin D, the other nutrition, and the protein. But without vitamin C, the protein won't have a strong effect for collagen production.
Oh, wow.
So they work really closely together as well.
So you can be getting all of this from your nutrition, though.
This is the thing, it sounds complicated, but actually if you just eat a varied diet, and it's that boring non-sexy seller, everything in moderation, a balanced diet, but honestly that is what it takes. It's just please try and prioritise getting your fruit and veg in. Really think, have I got that 5 a day? I want to be pushing higher.
Even higher than a 5 a day.
Even higher, and protein, more protein.
That's the one thing I was going to talk about next. So obviously vitamins.
Yeah,
we want
100%.
Omega-3s.
Yes.
Protein, mint tea.
Yeah, mint tea.
But protein is one that I've been asked a lot about by you guys. It kind of comes together with the question which everyone has been asking me: have you changed up your nutrition since you've been injured? Are you eating less calories? Now you wanted to touch on this as well. So that's actually one of the first questions you asked me, and I went through a crazy phase. So when I first became injured, I was eating, I can't describe to you how much I was eating. I have a massive appetite. However, obviously my activity level was down on paper. Yeah, I was feeling exhausted in the evening. My protein intake was down just because I wasn't really fancying protein. So overall, my calorie intake was down. And that was the first thing you said to me: you need to get that back up again. Why is that?
I think it's really understandable, and I think we've been told so much in society, energy in, energy out, but then we don't focus on the internal energy and the cellular things that are happening. So when you're injured, you've got to imagine the amount of effort your brain is then putting into your heart to pump more blood to that area, and on top of that, the other organs that play a role, the tissue repair, the growth. You're effectively rebuilding a part of a human being. That takes a hell of a lot of energy. And that's why if you suddenly reduce your calories, you're less likely to heal as fast. You actually need to increase them a little bit. But in different areas, especially the protein, as we've said about the structure before. But it's very easy to see how that mindset can happen and shift. And that was my concern, because I thought, obviously, when you're so active, you think, oh, I can't do as much now. Whereas actually, it's more of the right things.
And that was the interesting part, because I couldn't understand why I was feeling so exhausted, and the anxiety was kicking in because I couldn't exercise, I couldn't move, and it's from a mental health point of view absolutely horrible, because you feel trapped.
It must be. So I mean, the anxiety must be high, and I see it a lot in clinic with on a similar level down with relationships with food, because it does make you question everything you thought you knew or you've been surrounded by. What I call your food world, how you view your world of food and exercise. Suddenly that's changed. Your whole life, it's just changed.
And you feel like it's been taken away from you a little bit, and you have to rebuild and work out what's working for the new you. Which sounds so silly, but you do feel like a new individual.
And it's okay to eat when you're not hungry, or when, this is another misconception. So a lot of people are saying, well, just eat intuitively or eat when you want to. But actually, when you're trying to repair a body, you have to be a little bit more structured and regimented with your routine, because it's part of repair. Which is, I can so relate to that. I'm so sorry, it's hard.
No, but it's true, setting alarms for myself in the morning, the connection between the mind and the body. I'm learning even more about it, and I obviously knew a lot because of the physio background, but this has firsthand become an ongoing experience where I'm learning every day. And I think for me, not forcing myself to eat, but knowing that I have to get up to start a new routine for myself and feel like I have a purpose, because my purpose has now completely changed.
Well, this is another thing, isn't it? And as you said, taking care of yourself when you're feeling anxious or a bit low is actually very difficult.
It's difficult, and that's why you need a support network, really, unless you're an incredibly resilient person, and I like to think I'm pretty resilient.
I think no one can do that by themselves.
It's
you know what?
true,
I think everybody, no matter if they tell you they're not affected by something, they're not being quite honest there. Maybe.
And I guess that comes down to like stressful eating as well then. So people react differently, and I get asked this question a lot: have I always been quite athletic? Have I always been slim? Have I, etc., etc.? For me, yes, I've always been athletic, but my rocky years in terms of my health, because I like to talk more about my health rather than my aesthetics, were university. And I think that's the same for a lot of people. I didn't have the money to spend on expensive foods.
No.
I didn't really have the education on it. Physio, you touch on nutrition, but you certainly don't go into depth with it. And also there was a lot more temptations around to live life. So my stressful times, which I guess university, preparing for exams, dissertation, etc., etc. And I hope there are a lot of students watching this, because you may be able to relate. Stress affects your eating routine hugely. And I've been like firsthand to that. I am maybe, you could tell me, opposite to a lot of people. When I'm stressed, I don't eat. I really, well, that's an exaggeration, but I don't eat much. My appetite severely goes down, which doesn't help with brain function, obviously.
Well, no, but it is a survival adaptation. So if you think about how we're adapted to survive, when we're stressed, we have blood flow that's drawn away from the digestive area.
Right.
So actually, it's an innate thing to survive, to not eat in that period of stress, because it would be difficult to actually break anything down. You'd probably experience a lot of discomfort. However, we've got such a psychological overriding component that some people may have the polar opposite, where they want the high and the feel-good factor. The minute they have food touch their lips even and their tongue, they get signals that are sent to the brain that might temporarily give them that high feeling. So it compensates for any pain they're going through.
So how can we deal with it?
So how do we deal with it? That's the thing.
Stressful eating.
Stressful eating. Well, we've got a gut-brain axis.
Or
not eating. So dealing with stress, if you're under-eating or overeating or anything at all, is to remember that gut-brain axis, first of all, exists for a reason. So it's not you telling your stomach what to do. It's your stomach's going to tell your brain what's going on. So you've got to get the feedback loop right. But then you've got to take a step back, and this is psychological training, and this is when you come into the realms of almost cognitive behavioral therapy, or how do I deal with a situation? You need to learn what's going to work for you. So in Lily's case, she's been so open and honest and said, I just don't prioritize things like that. I don't want to eat food. I don't feel like it when I'm really stressed.
I also get pain. My stomach, like, it's a signal, and it's not a signal of this is when I eat, by the way. I feel really sore because for some reason, I know people say a lot of the time when you're stressed, it goes to your head or your stomach. I hold it all in my stomach.
Hold the tension there. And actually, there is research that says when you're stressed, your pH levels change in your stomach acid, so it might bubble a little bit more ferociously than usual. There's also research that suggests we go into that fight or flight mode for adaptation, which is, like we said before, when you're not meant to be eating. But we need to figure out a different way of coping. So it's how do you deal with stress altogether, which is what Lily touched on before, and I think we should discuss, is that we need to tap into what we call a parasympathetic nervous state, and that just means Zen.
Which typically I am not the best at, however I am learning, because this brings us on to sleep. This is that vicious cycle again. Anxiety, lack of sleep, lack of healing. Anxiety, lack of sleep.
And again, if you're not nourishing, of course you're not going to heal. So actually Lily needs to develop different strategies to deal with those emotions, and so does anybody listening, and I do it too sometimes. Instead of turning to food or away from it, I need to run a bath, or I need to do something for me, or I need to write down in my notebook, or I need to meditate, anything that works for you.
And Rhee's actually done, I watched it on the way over, a really, really good video on your top tips, 5 tips I think for sleep. And I would strongly recommend that you guys go and check that out. Like, in summary, partly it touches on technology.
It hugely touches on technology. I think there's so much research.
You take your phone out the room. I thought so.
Because I can't. I've realised when I read up on it, you know, the blue light that comes from our screens, it does disrupt melatonin production massively.
And I feel like we all kind of have heard about this, and we know about this, but we don't know the whys. And if you haven't experienced it to the extent that I have this last week,
you wouldn't really think
you
about
wouldn't
it
think about it.
But if you think how close you hold a phone to your face when you're looking at it, it's different from a TV being on your wall, which is at distance. So you can watch TV in your room, don't worry, or your laptop at the end of your bed. It's when you are on a phone and you are surrounded by it, basically.
So trying to turn off, and I've started doing this, and I last night had 6.5 hours sleep, which is so good for me.
I've been getting about 3.
3
if
we can around 8. But I have been putting my phone on airplane mode at night, and I have been putting it away. and I've been trying for an hour before going to sleep, to take all technology
Great.
away from me.
Are you reading a book or?
I'm actually doing meditation.
Lovely.
I've started meditation,
Look at this girl.
which again I'm not all that good at, but
Yeah.
I'm getting better.
But then when people say they're good at meditation, this is something that I actually asked Shona Virtue about on my podcast.
Yes. Oh,
And
I
she
need to
was,
listen.
yeah,
Okay.
she is incredible, and she was saying that actually it's all about being comfortable with the noise in your head.
Okay.
So it is normal to sit there. Apparently, I can't speak from first-hand experience. So I need to learn to do it more.
Yes. Yeah.
But you do need to be at one with the noise and the discomfort and all the things. The washing needs to be done. I didn't do this. Tomorrow I'm doing this in your head.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So sit comfortably with it.
Yeah.
That's another person for you guys to check out if you haven't already. She is
Yeah.
an
Fabulous.
absolute legend. Yeah. So check her out. And so I guess touching on the sleep, there was one last thing, and it was in relation to eating and at what time prior to going to bed.
Yeah,
And in fact in the morning. It would be really, really interesting to hear your
there's
thoughts.
several theories on time-restricted eating or doing what works.
There's going to be loads and loads of new content coming for you guys, so I really hope you enjoyed it. Bye from us.
Thank you.
Thank you for looking after me.
Bye.
Thank you for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please do drop a comment down below, and part 2 will be coming in the next couple of days.